Cathy and the Hooked Heart. A tale of pride, tea, and the power of true love. Gather around, children. Come close to the fire. This story is not for those who fear the truth. It is a tale older than the tallest anthill, deeper than the crocodile's hiding place, and more winding than a bush path in the dry season. It is the story of a rich man full of pride, a girl with a strong spirit, and a love that walked through storms before finding its home. In the grand city of Otutumeji, where the houses of the rich stretch so high they seem to touch the sky, lived a young man named Danladi or Kesi Wellingtonu. He was born into the great Wellingtonu family, known across the land for their money, land, and power. His father, Chief Obadel, once bought a whole hill just to build a palace on top and said, "Let the gods look up to us for once." Danladi wore silk, travelled in black cars with glass-like water, and had servants who bowed before him. He was taught from birth that money means power and that love is only for weak people. He was very handsome, like the moon when it shines fully, but his eyes were hard and cold like stone. People praised him when he passed, but behind closed doors they whispered, "His shadow is big, but his heart is small." Far from the rich part of the city, in a dusty area where zinc roofs shook when the wind blew, lived a girl named Keti, though some people called her Cathy. She lived in a small room with her mother, Mama Chinwe, who had grown old and weak but never lost her fire. Keti had no gold or fine clothes, but she had a strong spirit and a mind as sharp as a razor. She sold tea and snacks at a wooden stall by the roadside, boiling water on a charcoal stove. Her voice was bold. Her laughter could break silence like thunder. People feared her sharp tongue, but still they returned for her tea. They said, "This girl must have been a chief's daughter in another life." One afternoon, the sky broke open with rain. Thunder roared across the land. Danladi's expensive black car broke down right in front of Keti's tea stall. He stepped inside, wet, angry, and smelling of pride and perfume. "Where is the chair for a man like me?" he shouted. Keti looked at him, wiped her hands on her wrapper, and calmly said, "Sit on your pride, sir. That should be strong enough." The whole stall went silent. Even the fire under the pot paused. Danladi stared. No one, not even his own father, had ever spoken to him like that. He sat down. She gave him a cup. "Bitterleaf tea," she said. "It matches your attitude." He sipped, coughed, then laughed. A real laugh. And something inside him shifted. He returned the next day. And the next. Sometimes he wore his usual rich clothes. Other times he dressed like a common man. But Keti always knew it was him. They talked late into the evenings. About life, dreams, power, pain. She told him about her sick mother and her childhood. He said little, but he listened like a man who had never listened before. They laughed, they argued. They walked the dusty roads and watched stars from rooftops. Soon the city began to whisper, "The prince is eating beans by the roadside." And far away, in the Wellingtonu Palace, those whispers turned into fire. One bright afternoon, Madame Winifred, Danladi's mother, the queen of gossip, the lioness of the mansion, stormed into the tea stall. Her head wrap reached the sky. Her perfume entered before she did. She looked Keti up and down with eyes like knives. "Your hands smell of pepper and fish," she said. "My son smells of wealth and wine. You are not from the same world." Then she dropped a large sack of money on the table. "Take it. Leave him. Stay away." Keti looked at the sack, then straight into her eyes. My mother used to say if money could buy peace, kings would not fight wars. And with steady hands, she pushed the money back. But Danladi said nothing. He stood behind his mother, silent. His heart was beating, but fear sat on his lips. So Keti turned around and walked away. Her eyes held tears, but her back was straight. Danladi returned to his palace of mirrors, but none of them showed joy. He stopped smiling, stopped eating. He was alone. Then one night, the ancestors came to him in a dream and said, "A man who fears losing gold will one day lose himself." So Danladi rose the next morning and made a choice. He left his name behind, took off the suit, gave up the mansion. He walked to Keti Street in simple clothes and began sweeping. He helped carry water, served tea to the sick, spoke less, worked more. People whispered again, "The prince has become a man." One market day, as Keti cleaned her stall, a shadow fell across her feet. She looked up. It was Danladi. His shirt was worn, his sandals dusty, but his eyes were clear. He knelt down and opened a small box made from cowrie shells. Inside was a ring, twisted copper wire with a bead from his mother's old necklace. "I am no longer rich," he said, "but I am full of you. This ring has no diamond, but it carries my shame, my journey, and my love. Will you marry me?" Keti slapped him once, then pulled him into a hug. Then she cried. Then she whispered, "You were foolish, Danladi, but the gods bless those who grow." They married in the village square. No limousines, just goats, drums, dancing, and joy. The masquerades performed. The elders gave their blessings. They moved into a one-room house with a tin roof and clay floor. But their hearts were full. Every morning Danladi swept while Keti brewed tea. They shared roasted corn at sunset and sang to each other under the stars. Then one morning, Keti felt sick. The smell of pepper soup made her rush behind the stool and vomit. Again the next day, and again. Her mother watched and smiled. "This is not sickness," she said. "This is a blessing. You are carrying life." Keti placed her hand on her belly and wept softly. That night, after supper, she took Danladi's hand and placed it gently on her stomach. His eyes widened. "Are you sure?" She nodded. He dropped to his knees and whispered to her belly, "Thank you." They kept it secret at first, but soon her belly began to round like a full calabash, and the news spread. Then, one cool evening, a familiar figure appeared, Madame Winifred, but without makeup, without perfume, without pride. She walked slowly to Keti, knelt and placed both hands on her belly. She looked up with tears in her eyes and said, "Forgive me. Let me know my grandchild." When the baby came, on a night full of stars and singing frogs, the midwife lifted her up and cried, "She has her mother's fire and her father's thunder." They named her Ugochi, which means God's gift, even in foolish times. Danladi and Keti opened a school and a tea shop called Hooked, because he had been hooked by her truth, her strength, and her love. People came from far and near, rich and poor, to drink tea and hear their story. And so, children, listen well. A rich man's house may rise high, but only the clay house knows the smell of the earth. A woman with no goal can still speak words worth more than diamonds. And true love is not found in crowns or castles, but in quiet forgiveness, bitter tea, and the courage to begin again. Now go. Rest with this story in your heart. And when you dream, may you dream with fire in your bones. Please subscribe to Inspirations and Motivation Stories for more amazing stories.